Welcome back. Sorry.
That's all right. Welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Bob Sellers. Big tech CEOs are back on Capitol Hill. This was the fourth time since COVID hit. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, Twitter's Jack Dorsey, and the head of Google all questioned on antitrust matters and the spread of fake news on the internet. All of this coming as former President Trump, of course, is taking social media matters in his own hands with reports that he's considering a partnership with the little-known app Free Space. So would President Trump pose a real threat to big tech? Let's bring back in our panel of experts to talk a little bit more about this. And Stacy, I will start with you because you're pretty good at using social media. You're all over the place, and I know you have a lot of followers. Were you able to watch of anything that transpired today on Capitol Hill? Misinformation being the big concern there. And how do we stop misinformation on social media?
So in America, I remember a time in America where we were all responsible for determining if the news we were consuming was true or not on our own. We didn't have fact checkers. We didn't have Mark Zuckerberg or our dad, Jack Dorsey, to tell us whether or not things were true. They also just fact checked me on my page. They're punishing people on my Facebook page for sharing. It's a meme about Adolf Hitler at one of those kitchen talks that he used to do, where he said, we can't let the people among us who we want to control be armed. We can't let them have guns. It won't end well for us. So I just want to point out, for my part, what I would love to see President Trump do, if he's going to partner up with someone, is to basically be there only. So he can't go on Twitter anymore. If they offer him space back on those platforms, don't go back. I would love to see number portability. Do you remember when that was such a big deal, when AT&T, they wouldn't let you take your number with you? And then we had to have like laws and legislation. And then all of a sudden you could take your number with you. And so people started taking their number and packing off to whoever had the best deal. I want to have that same thing with Facebook. I want to be able to take all of my followers, all of my pictures, maybe even all of my posts, and move them wherever I go because they're affiliated with my name and basically my data. I want to be able to take my data with me. At very minimum, be able to post that forwarding thing. You know, if you mail something to someone who's moved, you get a little note back if it's been a year and it says their new address is, and the post office won't deliver it for you, but they tell you where to send it. I should be able to have a message like that up on Facebook telling people that I've moved. And these things are possible. I spoke to a guy from Stanford who's written a book about this, and he said, this is possible. And so it's time for us to have that same kind of portability with our data that we have with our phones.
Yeah, those are some good ideas. Holly, I know one of the other issues that was discussed today, there was some pushback from Parler and the developers of Parler saying that they were being targeted.
Yeah, the level of censorship in this whole conversation is mind-blowing, and I love Stacy's idea of being able to transfer your information over. We're doing something in Florida, and a bill is moving through the legislature right now. It's actually House Bill 439 that seeks to hold big tech accountable. No longer should taxpayers be forced to buy products from these big tech companies that censor their thoughts, their speech. I'm hoping after this conversation is over that these big tech companies will see the light and allow conservative conversations to happen just as they should.
So do you think that they will see the light, Trey?
No, I don't. And that's why I like the fact that Donald Trump is going to push forward with another option. That's what capitalism is all about. As a hardcore capitalist and conservative, I also want to say that I do not think that either Democrats or Republicans should be telling private businesses how to run their business, as we don't like it. This whole thing on Capitol Hill today was nothing more than a big show for the left to say you're spreading too much conservative disinformation, and for the right to say you're censoring conservative voices. We need more choices. I hope that Donald Trump does that. The biggest thing that specifically you at Newsmax should fear right now are people like AOC, who's calling for the government to have panels to decide what is information, misinformation, or disinformation, or your competitor, CNN, hosting pundits who are calling for Newsmax to be removed off of the air by any means necessary. This is big government and a private push from your competitor to push you off the air. It is unfair and it is un-American.
You know, Bob, one of the questions that was asked today to all these leaders of social media was whether or not they bore any responsibility for what happened on Capitol Hill. And apparently the lawmakers were aggravated because they couldn't really get a yes or no answer out of most of them.
I was watching when that happened.
There was only one that answered yes. I'm not sure who it was.
But even that he tried to couch. And the other two wouldn't answer. Just one of the yes or no.
Right.
They wouldn't do it. So did they have an effect? Yes, they had an effect. I think we all know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then what do you do about it, and how do you resolve it?
That's the question.
Yeah.
That's the question. I guess that's why they're discussing it, and it'll be interesting to see what proposals there are out there, because I think a lot of people are unhappy with what's happened.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And coming up next, we're going to talk about some other things. But in the meantime, we are going to go to break, and then I think we're going to come back and talk about Sesame Street. And what's
as one does.
Yeah, what is happening with Sesame Street? It has to do with wokeness. Up next.